Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about philosophy and ethics. Some programs require you to take philosophy and some programs require you to take ethics. I was fortunate enough to have to take Introduction to Philosophy, which not only covered ethics but a few other things, like, you know, the philosophy of identity, the philosophy of art, philosophy of knowledge, which I think were really beneficial to me as a person. I feel like philosophy is a lot like general psych, and it's very writing intensive, also like general psychology, but it's like a personally beneficial class. Like, it's not going to help you be a better nurse, but it will help you be a better person and more compassionate and understanding to things that, you know, you may have thought were, you know, kind of weird or you didn't understand and things like that. So today we're just talking about why I think it's important. For one, the topic of identity is really important. The topic of identity is really important because, you know, it asks a lot of simple questions like, who are you? How did you get that way? Will you still be the same person in a few years? And you know, these sound like really easy questions to answer, but when you're in a philosophy class, you are challenged with that and you come to find that that is not an easy question. None of them are. They're actually quite challenging. It's really kind of hard to know exactly who you are and how did you get that way and will you still be the same person in a few years? So I really like the section on identity. Art was interesting. I didn't really know much about art before that, so I feel like it kind of, I got my toes wet as far as art, and now I would like to go to a few art museums and kind of like come up with my own idea of, you know, what is good art and what kind of art is, you know, beautiful to me and what speaks to me and things like that. We also went over the philosophy of knowledge, which I found out that, you know, a lot of people think they have knowledge on things, but they really don't. So that's always a nice thing to learn about. But all of those things were very brief. Our philosophy class went really in depth with ethics. It was like half of our class was those other three sections, and then the other half of our class was the ethics section. And I really liked ethics because it just like real world problems and ways to think about how to solve these problems and, you know, work through it and get through it with your critical thinking skills, which is very beneficial and important in the real world and in nursing and in life in general. In our ethics class, well, not ethics, in our philosophy class, but during the section of ethics, it was a little bit different than most classes. Like, we weren't required to read a bunch out of textbooks and stuff like that. He just had like really intense lectures and he had to take really serious notes, and that was how our exams were made, were based off of the discussions that we had and which way the conversations went in the class and things like that. Like, if somebody was to read my notes, they would have no idea what was going on or understand where we were going with the topic and things like that. So for this class, missing a class was really just not an option. I was at every single class. I did not miss one. I ended up getting an A in the class, which was awesome, and I felt like I personally really grew from the class with, you know, these new ways of thinking and handling things and stuff like that. Our class was really cool because we had like a simulation at the end of the class. So what we did was we did, you know, our chapters on identity, not chapters, sections, because they were, you know, lecture based, not book based. We did our thing on identity, then we did art, and then we did knowledge, and we took a test on that, and that was our midterm. But then ethics was something on its own, and then we had that for our final. So we did all of that, so we were completely done with all like quizzes, tests, exam, things like that. And then he had us do a simulation, and the simulation is pretty much everybody in the class. He gives us all characters. He writes up a script for, not a script, but pretty much like a prompt of like, this is who you are, this is how you should be acting, this is which ethical theory you should be practicing in, and this is how you should be acting and things like that. I was a utilitarian, which means that, you know, I want the greatest good for the greatest amount of people, and I want to do the least amount of harm. So if harm has to be done, I want to do the least amount to keep the most people safe. That's pretty much what that means. And that was my character, and we were stuck on Snake Island. They put us in like a conference room in our school. They threw like fake bones all over the place. They had like a projector screen on the back wall with like you know, storm islands and stuff like that. And so yeah, and it was really, really cool. We did that for 4 classes, and our classes were 3 hours long, so it was a lot longer than like a regular semester class. And you know, like things would wash up on shore, which would be like, you know, things from our plane that crashed, and it would have water in it. There was these scientists on the island that were our professor and another student who had already taken the simulation in his ethics class prior to this class. And yeah, so pretty much everybody was at each other's throats and fighting, and you know, you had to use these ethical theories or ethical ways of thinking to get out of this state of nature. And it went from like funny and laughing to like it was really serious, and we were all yelling at each other, and it got really highly stressed because the death, like if we were to die on this island, we had to write a 15-page paper, and it had to be completely cited. And now mind you, our simulation ended on the last day of class, and grades were due the next day at noon. So you literally had less than 24 hours to complete this 15-page paper that had to be written on your ethical theory or whatever, and get this turned in before your grade. And he made it like a very high percentage of your grade if you had to write this paper. So pretty much you would fail if you didn't write the paper, or if the paper wasn't written very good or whatever. So everybody was terrified because nobody wanted to write the paper because there's not enough time. Number 2, who wants to write a paper that big if they don't have to? So it was very, very, very intense. I feel like the class of like the section of ethics didn't really start until we began the simulation. Once we began the simulation, like you're really putting these things that you learned about ethics into play and actually working with them and figuring out how these ways of thinking can get you out of a bad situation or a state of nature, which means like, you know, if the world was to come to an end or something like that, you know, coming together and not harming each other and forming your own type of government to get back into a normal state of living and out of this state of nature. So it was a very interesting class. I really, really enjoyed it. I feel like personally I grew from it a lot. I learned a lot about myself and a lot about other people and a lot about art and things like that. And I just feel like it was like a really, really good class. So anybody going into philosophy or ethics, a lot of people are like, oh, humanities, that's so stupid. I know I was like that before I took it. But if you take it for what it is and you really try to absorb everything that you can from these classes, then you'll really, really enjoy it. I know I did. I ended up with a great grade. I know I was only like one of 2 people who got an A because it was a very challenging class. If you didn't pour yourself into it, you really had to care and really had to try to understand what this professor was talking about, because it wasn't just like reading a book and then spitting back information. He was talking to you, leading a discussion and letting it go wherever it wanted to go, and then later quizzing you on it and asking, you know, why it was like that or how it was like that or things like that, because philosophy is always like, well, why and how and things like that. So it can be quite maddening. It can make you kind of crazy sometimes, but when you get to the end of the section and you understand what he was trying to get to, then it really, you're like, oh wow, this makes sense, and it just like enlightens you in a way that I can't even explain. I feel like it's just a class that, you know, everybody should take, and once you take, if you really do your best in it and try to absorb what this, you know, this guy, the professor, he's a PhD in philosophy, he's very intelligent, you know, if you really try to take what he's giving you, then you can really grow and flourish from it. But so I know I just kind of rambled on, but I just wanted to say, you know, that I think that philosophy and ethics are really important as like a personal class. Like, it will make you grow and have more understanding of a lot of things that you probably didn't before. It's a lot like general psychology. I personally love general psych, and I love my philosophy class. So if you like either one of those, you'll probably like the other. But yeah, so that's my video today, and I think I'll be having another video here soon on my online chemistry class. So I've had a lot of questions about taking it online, and it's over now, but it was hell going through it, and I'm glad it's over now. So I'm pretty sure my next video will be about that. But thanks everyone for watching. Make sure to subscribe down below, and I'll be trying to drop new videos every week to uplift and inspire and just inform you on what's going on this journey to becoming a nurse. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.